Yeah, this was Europe's coalition of the willing, essentially being asked, what are you actually willing to do by US military chiefs and European military chiefs trying to get meat on the bone after the very positive, if not definitive, noises from Donald Trump. The meeting behind me actually finished a little while ago. I understand that Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, the UK's head of the armed forces, will be briefing Sir Keir Starmer and the Defence Secretary imminently. But there are key fundamental questions on the table here. First and foremost, who's actually going to be providing troops? What will be the conditions of their deployment? What do they do if Russian troops attack them? And who's going to be paying for this? Now, there are some things that we already know. Donald Trump has already been adamant that there will be no US troops on Ukrainian soil. But he has said that he might be willing to provide some sort of air defence. So they've been trying to figure out, well, what does that actually mean? There was an Italian suggestion which the US sort of backed about Article 5 style guarantees for Ukraine. That refers to NATO's Article 5. An attack on one is an attack on all. But this won't be a NATO force. They're trying to hammer that out. We know some things from the UK. The UK have said they are willing to provide troops. But talking to UK defence sources say, they made clear this would be, quote, a reassurance force, not a peacekeeping force standing between two armies. So training and rebuilding of the Ukrainian forces. What we don't have any sense of at the moment is just who might be willing to provide frontline troops.
What's Russia got to say about all of this?
Well, first and foremost, their response has been non-stop shelling since the summit in Alaska. Overnight in the northern region of Sumy, 15 drone attacks, injuring 14 people. And the pictures you should be looking at right now are of a civilian area, not frontline. Donald Trump has said he wants a meeting between President Zelensky and President Putin. Russians have been non-committal, the Kremlin rowing back even further today. And once you do get those two men in a room, things get even trickier then, because what we've had no sense of so far is what either Ukraine or Russia, what concessions they are willing to make. And they are likely to be the toughest of these negotiations.
Paul, thanks very much. And Poland says it plans to send a formal protest to Russia after a drone thought to be part of Russia's air attack on Ukraine crashed in eastern Poland. Media reports say the object, which exploded during the night in a field near Lublin, was a Russian version of the Shahed kamikaze drone. Poland's defence minister accused Russia of once again provoking NATO countries at the very moment discussions aimed at ending the war were going on. Well, the former Ukrainian Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk joins me now from Kyiv. Arseniy Yatsenyuk, let's talk first about the NATO meeting and these security guarantees. They're looking pretty woolly, aren't they?
Hi, Kathy. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I was closely watching your anchor who delivered an amazing speech from DC, and I was wondering, well, that's really great that we are discussing security guarantees, and that's just awesome when Ukraine gets an ironclad security guarantees. But I believe that suspected war criminal Putin, he buys this as just hot air. The main question which is on the table right now is whether we can really get durable, just, and fair peace. Period. So, and there is no any kind of evidence or signs that either Russia or somebody else like China and the rest of the pariahs support the real peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia. Even more,
so
you asked a direct question. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, this meeting then that's being planned allegedly between Vladimir Putin and your president, President Zelensky. I mean, do you think there's any sign of that actually happening?
I don't believe that designated war criminal Putin is eager to have any kind of real peace meeting between President Zelensky and himself, and that he is ready to act in a good faith. He's not ready to collaborate. He's ready to cheat. And you asked the question where Russia stands on the security guarantees. I can tell you where Russia stands. His foreign minister was very clear a few hours ago, saying that, look, Russia is the state who is to guarantee Ukraine its security together with China. It sounds ridiculous, you know? This is the theater of the absurd.
Right, well...
Those who invaded the country...
Yeah, so in that case, taking into account everything you've said, surely the only language that Vladimir Putin would understand is punitive sanctions, which presumably you would expect in 2 weeks if there is no peace deal, as Trump promised.
Kathy, could you deliver this message to the entire free world and to the entire Western world that there is only one language that Putin understands? This is the language of real strength. He doesn't care about any kind of MOUs, meetings, statements, and the rest of the stuff. What he really cares about, he cares about himself. He cares about very strong actions. He cares if the world will go after him, if the world is ready to actually squeeze his war chest, if the free world is ready to fight like hell for democracy and not just to deliberate over the way how to guarantee or how to assure security, but how to bring the security to Europe with troops, military, and ammo.
Well, I wonder whether Donald Trump understands your message because, you had Emmanuel Macron, the French president, warning Europe not to be naive about Putin. Do you think Trump is naive about him?
Well, at least I am not the only one in Europe. And I hope your prime minister, he is a smart professional statesperson. And I do really commend the efforts of the UK government in helping Ukraine to get along with the US administration. So here is the thing. President Trump have heavily invested. He has heavily invested into his meeting with war criminal Putin. So because he expected to get some kind of concessions, he expected that Putin is ready to cut the deal, not over Ukraine, but about Ukraine, how to save Ukraine. And my gut feeling is that Putin is not ready and he hasn't changed his ultimate goal. And now President Trump has to decide whether he will wait for another kind of summit or he's ready to act, to press, and to get what is needed
Right.
in order to get the Nobel Prize.
Yeah, well, very briefly, I mean, listening to everything you've had to say, it seems you think we're a very long way from peace. And I just wonder whether, given the difficulty you've had getting conscripts to go to the front line, how much longer you can last in that context.
Let me be very frank. The situation is not an easy one. We are outmanned, outgunned, and Russia is 5 times bigger than Ukraine on the one hand. But on the other hand, we are not alone. We have one united front of the Western world. We are stronger, bigger, and we stand our ground. So if we show this unity and if we deliver on this unity with the clear-cut actions, we can prevail. There is no other option.
Arseniy Yatsenyuk, thank you very much for joining us.